Can existential dread lead to apathy and tribal mentality? Existential dread is just this deep feeling you get, and your life is ultimately up to you to define because there's no inherent meaning to it. We're simply thrown into existence without a purpose. Unless we define it ourselves, life remains meaningless. I wonder if we all experience this periodic meaninglessness in life. You know, this feeling of emptiness and void, right? This melancholic existential dread, basically. Now, this can lead to despair if not faced, right? Because society does shame people for lacking passion and purpose all the time. And any prolonged and negative feelings can drive us toward, escapism. In my opinion, not all escapism is bad, but a preconditioned black and white rigid ideology can also help you escape. It's not really good type of escapism. So for example, women, submit to your husband, stay at home, raise the children, that's your purpose. Or men, serve the patriarchy and patriotism, endorse ultimate masculinity, right? Find a good submissive woman and procreate. Wow, problem solved, right? That's it. There's your purpose. Now, this type of ideology replaces the anxiety of self-definition and meaninglessness with the comfort of fixed role, right? It's an escape from the burden of thinking. If you follow a rigid set of rules, you're deemed this good citizen or whatever. Now, this is just an example of many backward, rigid thinking, conservative values are promoting right now, right? But in reality, this doesn't really work at all, right? It just makes things worse. That's why even in a lot of fictional stories, we see a world where it has very rigid rules and hierarchies with these simplistic, barbaric views, right? It's often a disaster that breeds some form of a perversion underneath. Right? We've tried this kind of shit in the past. We kind of know that by now. So you see, ambiguity, ethical complexity, enlightenment, they require you to hold multiple conflicting perspectives at once. So escapism, right, particularly the black and white worldview dominating the political sphere right now, can lead to an amplified apathy and numbness, right? Some people cannot afford complexity and ambiguity because they're too busy escaping. Of course, this simplicity also makes it easier to control the population, right? Throughout history, where many leaders have attempted centralized control by preying on people's mental crisis, such as despair from this type of existential dread. All of this is not a healthy way of searching for meaning. Like if you have this deep, most shameful struggles, right? The persistent feeling that nothing matters, and the inability to connect, the numbness and toward existence, right? This can be reframed as some kind of superiority through hateful rhetoric. If a person can't explain why they love watching trans idol content, does that say something about their identity? I think they'd rather just hate on trans people instead of going into this whole crisis of, who am I, right? What is my identity? So maybe when we see someone passionately embracing a cruel and simple narrative, we're looking at someone who has likely found a temporary ideological for this existential numbness and apathy.